Good morning and welcome to the Operational Services Committee meeting for today, November 4th, 2025. I am your chair for this meeting, Councillor Chris Thiessen, and I'm joined by Councillors Flack, Auger, and Mayor Jackie Clayton for this meeting. I'll call this meeting to order and move right along to item number 2, adoption of the agenda. I just looked to my committee members. I'd like to add an addition to this menu just for the purpose of conversation and maybe some business following around transit. So if any member of the committee would like to adopt the agenda as amended to add item 6.1 transit to the agenda, I'd be welcome to that. Councillor Flack.
Thank you, Chair. I move that committee adopt the agenda with the addition of item 6.1, transit.
Thank you very much for that motion. That is in order. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call it to question. All in favor? Councillor Thiessen in favor. And that motion carries 4-0. Now, we have no notice of delegations here today, so we'll move right into reports. To that, I'll hand it over to our Chief, Brian Glavin, for his service area update. Chief Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. We'll start off in engineering transportation. Transportation crews have transitioned to winter shifts, and crews will be doing some pothole work, ditching, and preparing equipment, and training some new operators until snow hits. In engineering, we've posted the request for tender for the 2026 intersection improvements and milling and repaving of 108th Street and 100th Ave, as well as 116th Street and 100th Avenue intersections. For construction, we are hoping to see the Bear River Control Structure armoring be completed here in mid-November. That project has run relatively smoothly so far. In fleet management, we're actively changing over our equipment to winter operations. Right now, winter operations equipment for roads are ready to go, so whenever the snow does happen, we are ready to respond. In corporate facility management, the Eastling Center Lazy River materials are expected to arrive in the next 7 days and have made landfall in North America, so they are close. Demolition work has begun, and we still should have the project done by the end of the year. The Forbes House recently received a new cedar shake roof, and this is as per the Historical Resources Act. It requires that to maintain the designation. And our Heritage Village, we've done some preventative maintenance there with the roof replacements of 4 buildings. In Environment and Parks, been 2 weekends ago, we had reports of deceased migratory birds in the Ivy Lake area. We coordinated with Fish and Wildlife as well as the federal government to have those removed and encourage citizens, if you do see any migratory birds or any birds that have been deceased, to report them through 311. Parks as well has delivered 17 neighborhood rinks so far this fall, heading into our snow season. We typically have 25 to 30 and encourage people to fill out their applications online. As well, one of the recently funded projects, the Muskasippi Lighting Project, is progressing. The lights have been strung, and we're just waiting to complete electrical, and they should be ready to go here for the season. In transit, there were some outreach sessions held at the Ernie Radbourne Pavilion, teaching members of the community how to utilize Grande Prairie Transit. Both sessions were well attended. On excuse me, October 15th, Transit presented at the Immigration Advisory Table with a similar focus on fostering growth and access to transit within the community. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that update, Chief Glavin. I'll turn it over to committee members for any questions on the service area update. Seeing none, thank you very much for that update, Chief Glavin, and we'll move right along into our report for the day, item 4.2, snow and ice control service adjustments. I'm real excited about this one and some of the options that are being presented to Council, and as we see our staff making way towards the presentation table, I'll turn it back to Chief Glavin to introduce this.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Committee requested that administration bring potential amendments to Policy 606, which is the snow and ice control policy, for increased service levels for residential snow removal, flexibility to accommodate unusual weather conditions, be the freeze-thaw cycles that we've seen more of in the last few years, as well as enhanced snow pile removal in areas specifically like cul-de-sacs. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nellis.
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction, Chief Clavin, and welcome to the table, Mr. Nellis. Nice to see you again. And,
Thank you.
I'll let you turn it over. You got a great report to present.
Good morning, committee. Thank you, through the chair. This report was brought forward at the request of council to address two motions. One, to bring back a report to the standing committee with potential amendments to for increased snow removal options. The other, to bring back improvements to existing trigger language to allow for discretionary rounds of residential snow removal. A little bit of background on this: in 2024, as we were deliberating budget for 2025, a decision was made to amend the snow removal trigger from 10 centimeters to 13 centimeters, with the expectation that we would be funding 3 rounds rather than 4 of residential snow removal. We did see a heavy early season snowfall last year, and we committed to the new service level triggers. However, when we reached an extended period of melting in February, we were definitely facing situations where we had rough or impassable residential roads, and were directed by council to undertake an additional round of residential snow removal at that time. Subsequently, we did not revise the trigger in the bylaw, so the trigger remains formally at 10 centimeters, but there will be budgetary requests coming forward to fund that additional, the 4th round that was cut in 2024. Moving on to the improvements that are proposed in this report for consideration at budget, and the recommendation of this report is to take these items forward to budget deliberations for further discussion. One of those is a trigger language update. So there is proposed language here that would allow administration the ability to initiate a round of residential snow removal if we had unseasonable conditions or things that cause us not to reach the proper snow trigger, but did warrant a proactive approach to initiating another round of snow removal service. So that would look like a $235,000 budget allocation during deliberations. The other enhancements that we've noted here are potential 6 residential service team. Right now, we run with 5 teams of 2 loaders and 1 grader through the residential service. As you can see in the table we provided here, it is a stretch on some of those days for us to execute the service in a reasonable amount of time. And when we get into working sometimes 8, 10 p.m. on some of these nights, it does lead to considerable conflicts with traffic. So the thought is, by adding a 6th team, the only real cost to the city is adding an additional staff member internally to supervise that team. You know, in theory, if we add 20% capacity, we should be done 20% faster. In reality, math doesn't usually work out that cleanly, and we would be monitoring this program over time to ensure that the budgeted amounts align with the new service reality. The other enhancement that we proposed here is possible enhanced cul-de-sac pile hauling. So there are 400 sites throughout the city that right now are storage areas under Policy 606. They do cause a considerable amount of public frustration, and they do generate a lot of calls to 311. So what we've proposed here is basically adding an internal staff member to operate a loader, adding contract trucking resources so that when we initiate residential snow service, that we would also initiate this pile hauling service where we would be trying to remove as many of those piles in real time as we can during the execution of that service. There are advantages to that, in that right now when we get to pile hauling, it's typically a low priority item that we do between latter snowfalls in the season. Doing it earlier would allow us to pick these piles up while they're still fresh. They haven't iced over, so it would probably be a considerable time savings in removing them. But it would be a trial that we would assess over the first season to just ensure whether the resourcing was appropriate and see if we were able to keep up with the residential crews, or if we were just able to remove kind of high priority piles that were causing the most difficulty in those areas. So that's a summary of the 3 potential service enhancements that we've proposed here, and I'd be happy to take any questions that committee might have.
All right, thank you for that. Thanks for the time and effort and thought that went into this. Some big decisions here. Obviously, the motion is just to refer to budget, but I will entertain any questions from committee, and if there are none, then maybe perhaps from council too, as the mayor alluded to earlier. Mayor Clayton.
And just one question, Mr. Nellis, have you had conversations with industry? Do you think you can facilitate that that additional residential service team? Is it going to be quite easy to fill that?
We've had some preliminary discussions with a few of our vendors who've indicated that there could be capacity, but until we go out to market, it's going to be difficult to conclusively ascertain.
And remind me how that works. I know many years ago there was always a concern when we had heavy snowfall years that industry would come along and try to overpay private vendors on snow removal, and sometimes contracts were then put aside. And so what guarantee do we have that these independent operators fulfill the work that they've agreed to throughout our snow removal season?
Okay. In the request for the additional service team, you'll see there that the cost to the city is an additional service monitor. So basically each one of these teams we send out, we do have a city person that attends along with them to ensure that we're getting proper quality control, addressing in real time the concerns of neighbors in the immediate area, identifying for those crews what appropriate snow storage areas are as per Policy 606, and recording the areas that are done for future record keeping and ensuring that we're able to verify that we were in a particular neighborhood on a particular day. So it is a service that we do very carefully oversee to ensure that we're getting proper value.
And thanks for the questions, Mayor Clayton. Look to other committee members. Don't see anybody jumping right away, but I do have one question, Mr. Nellis, in regards to the enhanced cul-de-sac pile hauling. So there's two numbers that are put in there, and I just need it for clarity. $100,000 annual expense required for an additional operator, and then $58,300 per rotation. The total is $333,000. Does that include the in-house staff member as well in that total?
That is correct.
Okay, cool. That's what I needed. Thank you very much. So all in, what we're looking at is a referral of roughly about, with the whole suite, about $662,000.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. We would break them out probably for the budget presentation so they could decide on individual items as per. And one thing to note that some of these costs may need to be scaled depending on what the decision is for the trigger language. So if you decide on the enhanced trigger language, which would almost certainly add a fifth round of snow removal through the season, then we might need to scale up the cul-de-sac pile hauling because that's costed right now based on 4 rotations.
Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, well, I promised my non-committee members I'd let them get in the queue. So first come, first serve. I'll go to Councillor O'Connor, and then I'll take on Councillor Palat.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair Thiessen. Wade, this is wonderful news that you're looking at this. This has been a huge frustration for many of the citizens who, during the election, was brought up many, many times. So I'm really encouraged that this is an improvement. One of the things that was brought up to me, and I'm just what consideration is, it always seemed for whatever reason that Route A would always get done, but they would stop and then B wouldn't get done. And I'm just wondering, because you've added a crew, would that try and make sure that B's got done?
Mr. Nellis.
Thank you, through the chair. That is definitely one of the primary reasons to go with a 6 team. Right now, we're functioning at absolute capacity. So when those contractors have a sick operator, an equipment breakdown, typically we're able to get through some of those earlier areas, and some of those are some of our lighter areas. But adding the 6 team would provide a little bit of redundancy to the service so that, we're aiming for an earlier completion time, and we should be able to hit our service marks almost 100% of the time.
Oh, that's great. And one other thought, and this is just not to be answered now, but just considering that our main issue is storm sewers not being cleared during the whole season, and that causes a lot of flooding, as we saw last year through 3 Chinooks and rainfall. And I'm just wondering, is there any thought to sending a special crew around to make sure that the storm sewers are clear? I know that will come at a cost, but I don't want to push the budget and push myself and push you into a corner, but I think it's something that I would hope would be considered, that we keep snow away from the storm sewers. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, through the chair, and if you don't mind me disregarding your instruction not to answer that. So that is something that is important to us throughout the snow season. And if we add the 6th team, adding that additional snow monitor, part of their responsibility is trying to manually clear a lot of those drains as we're performing that work in residential neighborhoods. So that's something that we're working on actively. Also, when we get time between active snow events, we do send out hot water trucks to try and open the drains that we know are in problem areas throughout the city. So, it's always something that we can improve at, but it is a priority of ours throughout the snow season.
that is wonderful news for our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those questions, Councillor O'Connor. Now, I know, Councillor Platt, that I did call your number, but a committee member raised up his hand, so I'm going to put you to the back of the queue, and I'll look to Councillor Auger for a question.
Thank you. When we toured the service center, I seen a great big brand new snowblower. Is that going to be utilized along with the old snowblowers for faster removal of snow windrows?
Mr. Nellis.
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, we have considerably upgraded our snowblower this year. So its primary focus will be removing the windrows from priority 2 streets along bus routes. However, we kept the original unit as well. So we are going to be looking for opportunities to utilize our snowblowing capacity a little bit more. And there might be some opportunities, especially in parking lot pile hauling, and possibly in some of this residential program, where we'll be looking at how we can utilize our additional snowblowing capacity more effectively this season.
Awesome. Thanks for that question, Councillor Auger, and it's good to know. All right, Councillor Palat, your time has come. Now time to ask the question.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Okay. Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Appreciate that. A couple of questions. I guess just give me a little bit of a history lesson. How many normally are we doing on residential snow clearing? Is it 3 times a year or 4 times a year currently?
Thank you, through the chair. It's varied quite a bit per season. We've averaged 4. We've had some light snow years, but we've also had, this season we had a round that was ordered directly by council. 2 years ago, we had icy conditions. We had another round that was ordered directly. So we have seen this situation crop up time after time, where we've had unseasonable conditions that have required additional treatment. But 4 is about our average at this point.
And just so appreciate that. Just wondering if there's a thought, and I'm not on this committee, so I can't speak to it that way, but have we ever looked at what other municipalities around the province are doing as far as snow removal? I feel like we have a pretty Cadillac service now, and these would make it even a higher Cadillac service, and that's fine. It's debatable, that budget. But my concern is as a city, once we add features, it's incredibly hard to pull them out. And so I'm wondering if there's any chance before budget that we'll be able to know what are other mid-sized cities in Alberta comparably doing. Certainly want to be the best at what we do. I also don't want to be the city that's already doing the best and then adding more and more on top of that. So I don't know, for a frame of reference, where are we at compared to other municipalities? And is that something that will be, I guess, foreshadowing at budget? I will be asking for that information, and maybe it's an opportunity for admin to work on some of that earlier. But I am curious on that. I do constantly hear that our snow removal is not good enough, and yet I travel this province all over the time in the wintertime, and our roads are by far the best snow removal clearing. I know people don't want to believe that, but they generally are. So just wondering about that information, I guess, with that extra pass. I'm a little bit confused, or maybe you can walk me through the snow pile clearing. I appreciate last year we had a lot of conversations with folks that were upset with piles sitting in their cul-de-sac the entire season. And so when I look at this, it looks like it snows, we're going to haul it away every single time. Was there a thought of a trigger of once it's sat there so many days that we would look at that, just so that it's not, again, there was areas of town we didn't get complaints from, so now we're going to go into those areas and do an additional level of snow clearing that they'd even ask for. Was there a thought of a trigger? We'll clear all snow piles within 30 days of them being put there, or 15 days and put there, not just guaranteeing that we're going to clear them every time it snowed.
Okay, thank you for those questions. So just to reiterate, so no, 1, have we seen what other cities are doing around the province? And 2, have we researched trigger points for removing snow piles? And I'll hand it over to you, Mr. Nellis.
All right, thank you, through the chair. to address your first question about municipal comparators, certainly we do look at those. To get some context, I would probably point council to the 2022 report. That was a fulsome review of snow removal service levels, and that does have comparators to other mid-sized cities in the province. I don't want to necessarily review all that information at this time, but I would say that you're accurate in that our residential service especially is competitive, or offers rounds of service above and beyond some comparator municipalities. And there's also a lot more consideration to the preservation of street parking in Grande Prairie than there are in some other municipalities. But we will be prepared to present, to recap any of that information when it comes to budget deliberations, certainly.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, could you refresh my memory on question 2?
The trigger point for snow pile removal.
Oh, yes. We hadn't looked into a trigger point for pile removal, thinking that the primary advantage to this would be rapid response. So if we can get to these piles while they're still fresh, before they've had a chance to melt, harden, refreeze, because sometimes right now we're having to take in a backhoe or other equipment to bust these up so that we can bring in a loader to take them away. So the thought was that if we action this quickly, it might be a more efficient removal than necessarily waiting for a given number of days or some kind of pile dimension that might trigger removal.
And just to follow up, if I can.
Certainly.
Just curious, at the end of this season, we clear all of these snow piles everywhere in the city regardless. So appreciate we're doing it preemptively, but wouldn't there be a cost saving somewhere down the line that we're not going later on and using backhoes and all these things to break up that snow? And inevitably it's getting removed. It's just getting removed more frequently now. Mm-hmm. Was there a thought of what that looks like come the spring when we're now having all those crews that would normally be doing snow pile clearing? Like, what else would they be doing at that point, I guess? And I'm just trying to figure out the best utilization of our crew as well, because I'm worried that we get into April and normally we have a bunch of bodies clearing snow piles and they're not there anymore. So how do we properly utilize our staff that way?
Thank you. Through the chair. One of the things that we are blessed with is that there is no shortage of work. So, if we were to be removing those piles more frequently, we still have boulevard and street storage that we're taking care of actively. We can migrate into spring cleanup in certain areas faster than we might be able to before. We'll be able to allocate more resources throughout that spring season to the melt and probably keeping those drains clear as well. So I'm not worried about being able to keep our staff occupied if this program was adopted.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me in the queue.
Thank you for your questions, Councillor Platt, and thanks for your very thoughtful answers, Mr. Nellis. I'll turn it over to committee member Mayor Jackie Clayton, and then I have Councillor Bressie in the queue.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. Appreciate you getting me in. And as I need to step out, Mr. Nellis, would you mind sending that municipal comparable information to council? Thank you.
Certainly.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Thanks for that, Mayor Clayton. Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. So this certainly wouldn't happen for this budget deliberation, but I'm wondering if there's been any work done to look at, hey, what would the cost be if we just dramatically did a different version of snow removal than we do now, where we don't wait for it to pack down, we just get out quickly and we do a quick and dirty when we're in the middle of the event. I'm just struggling because when I look at those municipal comparators, we do have a higher level of service in many ways, but we also do have a much higher spend than other cities that doesn't seem connected to snowfall. And I do wonder sometimes, is our current system of waiting for that pack, of waiting for that 10 centimeters of snowfall to accumulate, and then it becomes that hard pack, so you really have to get out there and really work on that? Is that actually a cost savings over just getting out when it's fresher? And I don't know. I'm not saying that the way we're doing it is the more expensive way of doing it. I honestly don't know. And I'm wondering if we've ever done an analysis of, is this truly the most cost-effective way to remove snow every time we're removing snow?
Mr. Nellis.
Thank you for the question. So again, we did review snow and ice service techniques, service levels in 2022. We haven't done an in-depth analysis as to whether, I don't know if the proposal would be almost continuous residential snow service instead of waiting for a given trigger. From a fundamental level, if we're running the equipment more time, it is going to have a higher cost to us. So unless there was a trigger as to when we quit or, what those rotations might look like, it would take a lot of lot of analysis to try and ascertain what would be more effective.
Yeah, and I guess just what I hear from residents regularly, including some who actually do have machinery input, is it seems like we're relying on we need graders to do it, so wait till that pack's done. So we're going right down to bare pavement with hard ice. So you need really big pieces of equipment to do it, which are more expensive to run, both in terms of more operator skill, but also just a more expensive piece of equipment. It would mean a significant capital cost, but there's often wondering in the community of, hey, do we need graders to do it? If we got a more rapid response, could you get a better level service with smaller pieces of equipment running more than bigger equipment running every once in a while? And just something that I've been curious if we've ever looked at that or thought about that or played with that at all.
Mr. Nellis.
Thank you, through the chair. We haven't done an in-depth analysis of that approach, but of course we're always open to considering new options and new techniques.
And again, that would be for this budget, but I wonder if that is something that we want to pick a section of a neighborhood sometime. And maybe for a winter, we say, hey, the section of a neighborhood, we're going to try this with it and see if it is better service, better cost. I think I'd love to back into that later in this term, but that's sure not going to happen this budget deliberation.
So I put my name in for the pilot neighborhood. Hey. But yeah, no, thanks for that suggestion, Councillor Bessie. As Mr. Nellis said, we can always do things and try things differently to try to improve the level of services that we do through a variety of departments, especially around snow removal. And I think Council's always willing to try to improve that service. One of my quick thoughts, outside of the operational costs, you're also probably looking at higher capital costs too when you start talking about fuel and the grader blades and other stuff that needs to be replaced, as well as the big equipment itself. So that would need to be taken into analysis as well. But I'm not poo-pooing it because you're not putting it forward to this budget. So thanks for that suggestion, Councillor Bressie. All right, I don't see any other hands shooting up. We do have a recommended motion on the table to refer this to budget. And I'll look to any member of committee, Councillor Flack, to make that motion.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Thiessen. I move committee recommend council refer snow and ice control service level adjustments to the 2026 budget deliberations.
Right, that motion is in order. Any discussion or debate on the motion as it is? Don't see anybody struggling to get the attention, so I'll call the question. Councillor Thiessen in favor? And Councillor Auger in favor? And that carries 3-0. We look forward to the report and to deliberating on this at budget. Thank you very much for being here today, Mr. Nelson, presenting.
No problem.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So moving right along, we have no correspondence. So we'll move right into, I guess, other business. Item 6.1. Sorry to make you wait over there, Mr. Harvard, but I wanted to add this to our agenda today to try to get a bit of a discussion. As we know, we have a new route that's being proposed for the Trader Ridge to Countryside area for this budget deliberation. And my thoughts around transit is, especially during the election, I heard that our transit system could be a lot more efficient, and people were reaching out for ideas on how to make that so. And one of the things that I thought was potentially maybe now is the time for an express loop to be made, perhaps out of the route that's being proposed at this upcoming budget. So did have one question for Chief Glavin. I did not spring it on him or CAO. I talked to them both before this. Around the design for the new route that's coming to budget, the Trader Ridge to the Countryside South area. How far along are we on that design is my question. And to supplement that, is it possible to create an express route loop design for the next budget for council to deliberate between the two, or not to do, I guess is the question right now. Chief Glavin.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. So as far as the route design, I believe that Transit has the design that they would go forward with completed. With regard to an express route, initial, without having done a lot of work on it from Transit, was they didn't currently see that as the optimal next service to put in place for the current transit system. But if we were directed to do some work on that, for sure we could bring that back.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So I guess as I'm the chair, I don't make motions. So I will bow to the power of our committee. But my thoughts on it is as we start growing in the Trader Ridge and Countryside neighborhoods, as well as the development of those neighborhoods, the need for transit is going to grow over time, but I don't think it's exactly there yet. And in order to make certain connections, my thoughts on it were is if we had a route that was running to all of our big, our big hubs, the library, the Eastlink Center, the college, the Northwest Polytechnic, the hospital, and the Prairie Mall. I think the opportunity to provide better service to all of our transit users exists within that and wouldn't cost anything extra on the budget. But in order, as Chief Glavin said, in order to have administration do some work on this, or at least a preliminary design, or consideration of that, there would need to be a motion from this committee. So I'll look to committee members. If you wish to make that motion for an express route design like that, I would appreciate that. And if not, I appreciate your... Oh, Councillor Auger.
I agree. I move that the committee direct administration to bring back a report with information regarding the potential addition of an express route between all major transit hubs in the city.
That motion is succinct and totally in order. Yeah. So I guess with that motion being made, thank you very much, Councillor Auger, for making that motion. I'll turn to committee and also council, because this will potentially impact council for any discussion or debate on this motion. Councillor Bressie.
I guess looking at the, I don't know if this is asking about the intent of the motion or asking how administration would interpret it, probably both, but would the effect of this be that council would have two routes coming before it, consider the one that administration is already working on or the express one, or would this replace that one and we truly would only be able to consider one route?
No, I would leave that other route on there. So essentially what this motion would do is just bring forward options that council could discuss and deliberate on around the budget as to how we would spend this money. Now, of course, we don't have to spend the money either on either route, so that would technically create three options, but two for council to look at the service levels of transit and where they think that direction should go.
And I just guess my other question would be, is this a realistic ask to have before budget?
Chief Glavin.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. I'm not sure that this could be delivered in advance of budget, given our transit director is out on vacation and won't be returning until close to budget. And they're typically the ones who would do that route development and analysis. So I don't think I could commit us to having it there for budget discussions. At least not in a fully analyzed with a recommendation, aside from the high level that they've already looked at it where they don't think it's a better alternative than the current proposed.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, Councillor Bressie, bringing that forward in the response from Chief Glavin. My question is just in regards to the new route. If that is approved by council at budget, how soon would that route start running? Would it be January 1st, or would we be looking at April 1st? And the reason why I ask this question is just a matter of timing. I'm not looking to try to rush anything. Simple, basic design says, hey, this can be done for the same budget, and we can develop this over time. But timing also matters. So do we know when the routes would start?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. I don't think we included an exact time in the report, but if it was approved at budget, I'm going to guess it would be sometime early first quarter by the time we recruit, depending on our availability of staff. Right now, we would be looking for additional bodies to be able to have that route fully staffed. We do use casual staff as well, but typically we wouldn't schedule them as the primary operators indefinitely, so we would be looking to recruit right away if that were approved at budget.
Okay, no, thank you for that. And one final question. Our transit master plan, we started work on it in 2014, finished up 2015, implemented in 2016. How far off are we on the new transit master plan redesign?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. I'm not sure that it's currently in the budget, but as you recall, there was the transit master plan was adopted, and then there was a substantial transit redesign as the master plan in practice did not deliver the level of service that we were looking for, and there was a substantial redesign done in order to improve the service. But as of right now, I don't believe there's a set date for the next transit master plan.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that, Chief Glavin. So I'll look around for any discussion or debate on the motion that is currently on the table. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Councillor Thiessen in favor? And that motion carries. So it appears we will be looking at some options coming forward. Thank you very much to administration and committee for hearing that out, and we'll move right along to item 7.1, bylaw and council policy review. In this, we will be discussing the drainage bylaw repeal and replacement. And I'll turn that over to Chief Glavin to introduce.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. So as part of our regular bylaw review, it was determined that a comprehensive update to the drainage bylaw was warranted. This was done in consultation with industry, our internal stakeholders, and our internal legal team. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Nellis.
Welcome back, Mr. Nellis. I was wondering why you hadn't left the table yet, but here you are. Take it away.
Good morning. Thank you, through the chair. We're here to introduce bylaw C-1443, which is the replacement for the previous drainage bylaw C-1241. C-1241 was adopted September 7th, 2010 and is 15 years old, so it was well past time for a comprehensive review of the drainage bylaw, which is what you have before you today. A summary of some of the significant changes between the two bylaws. One, the definitions were brought in line with current industry practice and to ensure greater clarity for developers and engineers. We went through extensive legal review in terms of the enforceability of the bylaw, and we've made some adjustments to fines that bring them more in line with what we're seeing in other Alberta municipalities, particularly around releasing of prohibited materials into the stormwater system. There are some other housekeeping items around the use and reuse of rainwater and adding more detail to the spill response programs. There was there was consultation undertaken in the assembly of this bylaw, and there was extensive efforts reaching out to the development, landowning, and engineering communities to get their input, and there was no negative input received as we went through the drafting process. So that's a brief overview, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Awesome. Thanks for that report there, Mr. Nellis, Mr. Harvard. I'll look to committee members for any questions in regards to this. I don't see any hand shooting up, but I will make a comment. I read this. I didn't think I thought I might fall asleep while reading it, but honestly, it was great, enthralling, and for stormwater, as enthralling as stormwater gets. But I really like the changes to it, as well as the comprehensive definition, so that we don't have that ambiguity. We have a bit more enforcement potential, and the storage of rainwater, which I'm assuming probably, at least for a rural service area, would also include large cisterns and stuff. That, as far as storage there goes. There was, although, as I said, I read this really closely. There was one question that I had, and it's very minor, very trivial, and it sits in the definitions. So throughout the policy, we talk about the director having the power to do so many things. And when I look at the definition for director in this, it says, means the city manager. And then when I look at city manager, it says this chief administrative officer of the city of Grande Prairie or the employee designate to do all this stuff. And I just wondered, as I read through the bylaw, I didn't see the city manager referenced once, except for in that director part. And I wondered if we could better define the director as the designate from the city manager and the city manager as the chief administrative officer. It's just a small thing. It doesn't affect the bylaw at all, but as far as definitions go, I thought it would clean it up so we wouldn't have to clean it up later. But if there was anything I would change in that, it would just be those two definitions, and that's just my input. but otherwise, great job, and it's a great new policy, and I'm glad that it got refreshed. Any other discussion on this? No, I don't see any. So I guess I'll turn to the city clerk. When we're amending policy, should there be an amending motion around the definitions, or is that just going to be noted and changed internally?
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. If you'd like it changed prior to the council meeting so that you don't have to amend it there, then a motion right now would be appropriate. And then we can make those changes before it gets added to the council meeting.
Okay. It's just a small little simple thing around definitions. So I again, as a chair, can't make any motions to this effect. I see Chief Glavin moving a bit, so I'll turn it to Chief Glavin before I ask to entertain any motions.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Thiessen. This was one that actually was flagged earlier. I think it's just probably a version control issue, but yes, as amended would be useful for us to update that definition.
Okay, yeah, that would be perfect. So I see Councillor Auger's microphone is on, and I'll turn it over to him to make the motion.
This one here? Okay, I so move that the committee recommend council give 3 readings to Bylaw C1443, being the drainage bylaw with updates to the city manager and director definitions.
Right, that is in order. Look for discussion or debate. Seeing none, we'll call it to question. All in favor? Councillor Thiessen in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you again, gentlemen, for this report and for your time here today, as well as to my committee members. We'll see you at council to approve and pass this new stormwater drainage bylaw. Right, so that brings us pretty close to the end of our agenda here. All that we have left is the outstanding items list, and to that, I'll turn it back to Chief Glavin.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. So we have a few things to update since our last committee meeting that have been dealt with since. The first one on the list, I'm actually going to give you a bit of a narrative on, which is the Item 1383, Bear Creek Valley Maintenance, where council was looking for further information. We had a delegation come requesting that the city mow a portion of city land adjacent to their residential development. That was the Bear Creek condos down on the corner of 68th Avenue and 100th Street. So we did take a look at their request. The area that they want mowed is on a slope, and there's a bit of a history with that development. Ultimately, slope stability was an issue after the construction of those condos. Several slope monitoring programs were completed by both the city and the developer. A number of engineering assessments were done, ultimately determining that a shear key was constructed, which essentially is a technique to reduce the likelihood of slope failure. So that provided additional stability and allowed excess groundwater to drain from the slope. It also included 2 groundwater collection wells, pumps that discharged the surface at the toe of the slope, so that's at the bottom towards Bear Creek. And after construction, the city became responsible for the ongoing maintenance and ownership of that system. At the August 25th council meeting, the association presented feedback that they received from a FireSmart consultant, and this was the consultant that we had doing work along Bear Creek, helping property owners to FireSmart their properties. They did highlight the risk of grass adjacent to the condo as a fire risk, and we're requesting that the city mow it. Through consultations with Grande Prairie Fire Department, they indicated that the area would allow, that access to this area would allow any fire to be reached and controlled quickly from multiple angles, so they're not concerned about the defensibility of the property. The city has put forward 2026 funding request to perform FireSmart work on the 2 groves of trees immediately to the west of the condominiums to reduce fire risk further. Mature vegetation is key for slope stability, so mowing it would be counter to that aim of ensuring that the slopes are stable. The steepness of the area is outside of the tolerances for parks mowing equipment, so we wouldn't recommend doing it even if the slope stability were not a factor in that area. And one of the things that the Condo Association said is that there were maintenance agreements between the city and Bear Creek Condos. There are no such agreements between Bear Creek Condo and the city for that work to be done. So ultimately, this is something that we do as part of our slope stability monitoring throughout that corridor and have regular inspections. So slope is a concern. We would not recommend doing any mowing on it. And with that, I would consider that the follow-up from that motion to committee, and we'd recommend removing that from the list, and we will communicate that back to the ownership at the Condo Association. Item 1374, Muscogee Park lighting. This is one that was funded by Council Committee of the Whole. And as I mentioned in my chief's report, that it is already underway and should be all ready for the seasonal lighting going into Christmas, and can be coordinated with the lighting of the tree at Bennett's. Policy 606, so 1362, we received that report today, as well as 1363 on snow pile removal. They've been referred to budget. We can have those removed. And lastly, item 1379, residential development in the Central Commercial District. This was approved prior to election. And with that, that's my update.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Chief Glavin. I guess all we have left, Councillor Flack, is to approve the outstanding items list as amended.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Thiessen. I move committee receive the November 4th outstanding items list as amended for information.
That motion is in order. I'll call it to question. All in favor? Councillor Thiessen in favor? And that motion carries 3-0. And with that concludes our day of committees. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It's been 2 months since last we were here, and now we're looking for more consistency heading for the next 4 years. Have a glorious day.